A genius is a man that can do the average thing while everyone around him is losing their mind. Napoleon. Ronald Read lived a humble life, driving to his work in a second-hand car, parking down the street so that he didn't have to pay for the parking meter, wearing his shirt held together with a safety pin because he'd had it so long that some of the buttons had fallen off and he didn't want to throw it away. In 2014, over 2.8 million Americans died, but only 4,000 of them had a net worth above $8 million. And remarkably, Ronald Read was one of them. So what was the simple thing that enabled a humble janitor to become a millionaire? And the answer is not becoming a drug dealer, winning the lottery, or getting a big inheritance. The answer is something that literally anyone can do. Many people know how to do maths, and it is taught in every single school, but what is not taught is wisdom. And yet the latter one is the more powerful tool in building lasting wealth and happiness. I bring this up because a lot of people today think that becoming a successful investor requires intelligence. Well, Ronald managed to do it with frugality and patience. So what did Ronald actually do that made him rich? Did he buy the hottest tech stocks of his time? Did he invest in Apple at rock bottom lows? Well, no. Ronald specifically never bought any tech stocks or any stocks that he himself did not understand. Ronald bought blue chip stocks, that is just another word for big companies that issued dividends. And by the time he died, he had a broad portfolio of 95 dividend stocks. Whenever stocks would issue a dividend, all Ronald did was immediately reinvest it back into the stock. He was not a particularly exceptional stock picker. He even picked up Lehman Brothers and was holding it during the time it went bankrupt. It's just the fact that he was so diversified, this barely affected his portfolio when he made a bad decision. Today, if you want to be like Ronald, you don't have to do tons of research. You can just buy index funds that are filled with different dividend stocks. However, if you plan on holding for a long time, I personally prefer holding any US 500 index fund. Hilariously, Ronald didn't even use trading sites. He held all of his shares in paper format in a safety deposit box at his local bank. In total, the $8 million of paper shares stretched 5 inches high. I was disheartened to read in the Wall Street Journal they had suggested that he had this massive pile of money because he hadn't lived his life to the fullest, and perhaps that this should be some form of cautionary tale. If anything, I think this is baseless and shows the toxic mindset of the journalists at the Wall Street Journal. Everyone in Ronald's life that I read about seems to admire him. And after retiring for 1 year, he decided to go back to work while already being a millionaire to work at JCPenney for the remaining 17 years of his life. This is not a man that is unhappy. And when he passed away, he stated exactly where he wanted this money to go and in what quantities. To me, this suggests that Ronald just had no use for this money. Spending it would have brought him no additional happiness. The important thing to remember is Ronald never did anything exceptional to become wealthy, except do the average everyday things exceptionally well. You can be like Ronald if you, first, learn to live frugally. Ronald apparently used to park 5 minutes down the road so that he didn't have to pay for the parking meter. There are many people I know today that would never do this. And 2, invest your savings, but don't try and be intelligent, just buy good index funds. The thing that is going to make your investing pay off is patience, holding onto these funds for decades like Ronald did. Which leads me nicely on to point number 3, be patient. Success takes time. Ronald was 86 when he was worth $8 million, and by that time he'd learned to be happy without it. Remember, sunsets look the same whether you have $100 in your bank account or $1 million. The most you'll ever laugh is probably with friends over a $3 to $5 coffee. The best food, the food that tastes great and fills you up, is probably that lasagna your grandma makes. Learn to live like Ronald without big things, so that even if when you're old you don't become a millionaire, you become wealthy in other ways. And the most important thing you need to do to become a millionaire is